Good evening, folks, and welcome to episode 32 of Bum Talk. I am the charismatic host, the Jet fan, Che Bums, along with my co-host, my partner,
Hey, Danny Bums.
Danny Bums in the house. Welcome to episode 32. Welcome the new era of pro wrestling. It was a big week for pro wrestling just in general. It was the season premiere of Raw, SmackDown, but also for one big company that opened the doors back in January. They had their first show this Wednesday, and Danny Bones will put it up. It's called AEW Dynamite. The first wrestling show on TNT since WCW folded about 19 or 18 years ago. So it's a new chapter in pro wrestling. First time this hasn't been done. And it's been unofficially dubbed on the internet, of course, wrestling fans and all that stuff, and trolls, as a Wednesday Night Wars.
Yeah.
So it was the first Wednesday where NXT went up against AEW Dynamite, and obviously, as per the ratings, AEW won by 500,000 viewers. I think AEW had 1.4, and
yeah, but it's NXT.
Yeah, well, they want to compete with the small guys. But Danny Bums, let's pass the ball to you, LeBron to Anthony Davis right now. What was your opinion of the first episode of AEW Dynamite?
Thought it was cool. I thought it felt legit. I felt like, damn, this is not WWE. And maybe that's why I felt like, because I felt like I'm watching the same thing. I was
gonna ask you that, yeah. Did you feel like you were watching the same thing?
Yeah, but then I'm like, really, wait, this is because like it's the same thing, but it's not WWE. That's the way I felt it.
Well, he's trying to feel like
this.
It was pro wrestling, obviously.
Right. The background, the backstage stuff kind of felt the same. Except these guys, they be more entertainment side, more entertainment.
And that's always been the number thing. They've always been number one sport entertainment. But yeah, like you said, I caught the last hour of it. Just the way they're produced differently, obviously,
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, it's more sports orientated, more entertainment, and AEW, it's a more wrestling show, but also it's episode 1, so I'm sure there's storylines to build, production changes, camera setup, camera angles, it's all that stuff they play around with. What do you think about the commentating with Jim Ross?
I don't remember. Oh, it's pretty good.
3-man team.
Official. Well, he obviously brings a lot of authenticity.
A lot of experience. He's done New Japan, WWE. He's done the biggest wrestling promotions.
But it was cool. It was a great ending. I like the Jack Swagger. I like that. It was just really good. I liked it. I didn't like the opening match. Was
that Sammy Guevara versus?
Yeah, I think that kid's a little too slow with like a lot of the delivery.
And he's young too.
And I'm like, sometimes Cody was just kind of like there waiting for him. I'm like, this is just bad.
I
didn't like that.
I always thought Cody was an okay wrestler. He wasn't like great elite, but he's obviously a great promoter and businessman. But Cody isn't the greatest wrestler. But overall it was good. And then I liked the 6-man tag match.
It was good. Good
Chris
stuff.
Jericho with I call him the Puerto Rican Explosion, Santana and Ortiz, versus Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. I guess the other match that interested me was Pac, obviously, aka Neville, the former cruiserweight champion WWE, versus Adam Hangman Page. What do you think about that? That's the first match I caught when I turned
that
on
was
the TV.
Good. That was actually pretty good.
They're both acrobatic guys, young, both in their prime.
Yeah.
They're probably like the foundation of AEW young talent coming up. And then the other match was that woman match, right? She's the first trans.
She's the first AEW champion. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's all I'm gonna say. We'll look at that. But overall, they put on a good show, and Danny Boone said the best. Like at first, he goes, "I thought watching WWE, it's a wrestling show, but it felt different."
Right.
And I think that's what matters for them. They want to know that it feels different, and it's a legit number 2 option if you're not a big WWE fan or if you're into the alternative side of wrestling, which a lot of people are. It's a good start for them. They picked the right night, Wednesdays.
Yeah, good stuff.
You can't go Monday, you can't go Friday.
Yeah.
So they picked the best night. So
absolutely.
Like I said, it's not an official war, but it's definitely a rating war for them.
Possibly.
And like you said, NXT. It's NXT. Obviously, it's not like it's SmackDown or Raw, which we'll get to that a little later. Any other takes of their debut?
No, but I thought it was pretty cool. I'm looking forward to the next episode, see what happens.
They have like we talked about it. They have
admire it.
Yeah, they have a good core environment of fighters. So we'll see what happens. That's wrestling 3 times a week. Obviously, we don't watch every single episode all the time, but something to keep on up on tabs and everything. But congrats to Tony Khan and the rest of the EPs involved in this, the Khans, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nothing but the best. They put up that the next day put up a press release. The real winners were us, the fans. But
absolutely,
it's true. But they took a jab at them because they went 15 minutes longer than NXT than AEW. So as soon as AEW ended, you still had extra 15 minutes for NXT.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But moving on from AEW Dynamite, Danny Bones, what we got next on the table?
We got
It's just crazy to think about. It was a special week of pro wrestling just in general. We had the debut of Raw on Monday.
We have Friday Night Smackdown, which featured the lineal champion Tyson Fury against Braun Strowman, who he's supposed to be on Raw tonight. Yeah, maybe the opening match, opening promo, or whatever, or somewhere in between the match. But we had the season premiere of SmackDown on Fox, the first 5-year, $1 billion contract. Yeah.
And let me tell you, they put on a show.
Yeah, it was really good. It felt really good. I enjoyed it.
And we caught
what I saw. Mm-hmm. And really good.
We caught the kickoff show. You felt how it was.
What a way to end the week, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. Maybe Wednesday night AEW won by ratings. They put on Jack Swagger at the end of the match. And all that stuff. A good wrestler, But the way SmackDown just put on the match, like you mentioned, Tyson Fury, Braun Strowman, the angle, like you mentioned, Roman Reigns fought Eric Rowan in a lumber match, and The Rock obviously had a promo with King Corbin and the man Becky Lynch. That was a great promo. But everything felt good. We caught the kickoff show before we left the house, and even you felt the difference there, the way it was produced. You felt like it was very sports oriented. The backstage interviews. Kofi coming into the back, it felt like a fight, and Brock Lesnar. So the whole thing was really cool. But the best part was probably the main event of the night. And Danny Bones had a theory the whole week. He thought that Rey Mysterio would have botched the match because last Monday Rey and Brock Lesnar got at it, and then Brock went after his son Dominic. So Danny was right about Rey Mysterio being involved somehow in the match. But before I get to that, Brock in the main event fought Kofi Kingston, the current WWE Championship, and probably, I don't know, time record match. I think it was maybe 2-3 seconds. The bell rang, and he went up, gave him the F5, pinned him, and then typical WWE fans, booed. And at that time, I saw my cell phone. It was about 9:52. I'm like, something's gonna happen. 8 minutes left. And then Danny was right partly because Rey Mysterio music came out. Oh, Rey Mysterio they come out. But little did we know that Rey Mysterio had a partner. And when he first came out, it looked like Dominic far away. But when you saw closer, you saw it was Brown Pride, the former UFC heavyweight champion. Wow. At UFC 121, Cain Velasquez.
That was pretty freaking awesome.
That was WWE telling AEW.
It all just came full circle.
Yeah, that was WWE saying, you might have one Wednesday, but we took the week away from you.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely what it was. That was Vince McMahon, putting his balls on the table, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but I was surprised when Danny Bones said Rey's gonna interfere. I thought, okay, Rey's gonna come out at the end and challenge Brock, but no, it was Cain Velasquez back from UFC 121. Like you said, it was kind of full circle. It literally is. It just now it's in a different ring, no more octagon.
It was awesome.
And the way it came out, did the whole kind of like ground and pound kind of game. I thought that was awesome. You saw Brock's face.
Props to Brock's acting, man.
He was like...
The way he sells it is just like, that's why I love Brock so much.
Yeah, Brock is obviously...
Even last week when he was beating on Dominic, like...
yeah, that was crazy.
Just like the look on his face, everything about it, just he knows how to perform in this universe. Which is why I think he'll beat Cain Velasquez.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Because this is his world more.
Absolutely correct. Or they can probably do like a Goldberg trilogy. Remember Goldberg won the first two, like it wasn't a real match, but then at the end of the day, Brock Lesnar beat him when it really counted at WrestleMania. But who knows? Things obviously, it's not official. I think that he signed yet because I think he's still like under some kind of booking or something like that. And obviously he had that brace, so obviously Cain Velasquez has a history of injuries, but. What a way to end the week for WWE.
Yeah.
And like you said last night, at least for me, it overshadowed Hell in a Cell so much. Like it overshadowed last night's events and all that. That was a whole mess last night. But what a way to kick off this new era for SmackDown. And congrats to Fox. You know, replacing UFC. That's a big hole to replace. It really is.
Well, that's why they signed WWE and PBC.
Yeah, and it worked out for him. And I told you,
absolutely.
Fox
is doing really good
from Thursday to Sunday. They're set up from almost all year. So congrats to Fox, Vince, and everyone else involved with that. And congrats again for Vince, you know, stomping AEW at the end of the week.
That was great stuff.
Yeah. So you want to talk about Hell in a Cell?
Yeah, I mean, but then going from there, he goes from that to Hell in a Cell, which was initially, we thought like, how are they gonna have a pay-per-view after that Friday night?
Way too much.
Like they only had advertised like 4 matches.
I told you, right? I went on the Wikipedia page and on WWE.com, they had 4 matches advertised. So like I thought, okay, it's either gonna be like an hour and a long, and it turned out to be about 8-9 matches, and they were kind of just like I said to me. And I spoke to a coworker today. It just kind of felt like under the shadow behind SmackDown. To me, what really counted was the last 2 matches of the night, which was the co-main event, which was Charlotte for the SmackDown champion against Bayley, which that match was alright. It was kind of boring, but she ended up winning. She's a 10-time women's champion. She definitely is the GOAT of women's pro wrestling right now. 10-time world champion for WWE. But everything else to me was kind of like, we watched it. Baron Corbin fought Gable again, you know, rematch for the King of the Ring. It was just alright. And then the main event, obviously, which I think obviously was built around this, the Fiend fighting Seth Rollins for the WWE Universal Title match in a red mist.
Yeah.
That was just weird.
Yeah.
And the match wasn't bad. The match was pretty good. You know, Seth sold it really good fighting the Fiend. Like he was scared, he ran away. The Fiend would take some hits, but he would still get up. But the match. Let me see. You got a good picture there.
I know with this shot.
Absolutely correct with the sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Because it was a ladder, a chair, and then a toolbox on it. And then he went back at the sledgehammer, and he hit it, and the ref called the match as a DQ. We'll get to that in a few. The match was called DQ, and then the fans kept saying restart match because Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, got up. But the match overall, it ended.
Yeah, it was really weird. There's just like a clip of X-Pac watching the show with like some podcasters, and he just flips out. He goes, "Hey, how do you get DQ'd in Hell in a Cell?"
Yeah, and actually I read a comment like, "Oh, then you might as well make Taker and Mick Foley a DQ when he threw him over the Hell in a Cell."
Yeah, I didn't get that. I was even saying, I'm like, how did he get DQ'd?
Yeah, that's what you asked me last night. And then WWE released a press release sometime earlier today. It was the referee's decision to call it. The referee called it a no contest. He just felt it was just too much. But whatever, it's WWE. So
it's Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, exactly. It's Hell in a Cell.
Tell that to Undertaker when he threw Mick Foley off. Okay.
21 years ago.
Okay.
But that was that. And then the red mist, I wasn't really feeling the red mist at all. I don't know what they were trying to prove. Halloween, I don't know what it was. But they just announced a few minutes ago on Twitter that on Survivor Series it's a rematch between the Fiend and Seth Rollins. So maybe we'll get a clean match about a month away at Survivor Series. But overall, Hell in a Cell, like I said, to me it felt like it was overshadowed by the season premiere of Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AEW. So it was kind of like it was lost in the shuffle to say at best. So
I didn't get it.
We watched it. We were it was alright, but it is what it is. But hopefully this week's a little better with Tyson Fury being on tonight. That'll be all. But we'll leave the professional wrestling world into boxing UFC.
Let's do the boxing fight.
So
Sergey Derevyanchenko
versus Triple G for the IBF middleweight champion. And Danny Bones, I'm gonna give a little back history. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So about last May of last year, Triple G was supposed to fight mandatory, right, for the IBF against Derevyanchenko.
After Canelo fought out for failing a drug test.
Yeah, and then then Triple G decided not to fight him for whatever reason it was, IBF, like I said,
didn't want to risk the fight against Canelo in the fall.
So he didn't want to play no games.
He fought a light middleweight.
Yeah,
destroyed him in 2 rounds.
Yeah, that was back like in April or May last year, right?
That was May.
Yeah, and then so he was stripped. He told me IBF they're usually by the books. You don't defend. Okay, out you go. Someone in. So then in the fall, I remember at the Garden, Daniel Jacobs fought Derevyanchenko for the IBF title. which obviously was the number one mandatory. He fought, and I remember the match. He said it was pretty close, but obviously at the end, Derevyanchenko won the IBF middleweight champion, which was one of HBO's last fights last year.
Yep.
Before the
last biggest fight.
It was the last biggest fight. Yeah, it was the last biggest. It was end of October, remember? So then obviously he won. Then obviously you know that Derevyanchenko's fought Canelo. Was it in May? When they fight? That goes so fast already, man. Wow. Oh yeah, it was Cinco de Mayo weekend. Duh, I forgot.
I think the IBF already stripped him. Yeah, they stripped him, and then because they've just fought this now.
They fought back in May, and then
they stripped Canelo and they fought for this weekend. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, and then Triple G had a tune-up fight in June.
Yeah, against Steve
Rollis, and then maybe 4 months later, now he fights for the IBF against his original mandatory back last year, May, against Sergey Derevyanchenko. Again, here we hear
and it's obvious
at the Garden.
This is why obviously he avoided him over a year ago. Like
he struggled.
Another fight of the year candidate. What a fight! I tell you, man, that boxing has had way more fight of the year candidates than MMA.
No,
I can only name you one really good MMA fight, and that was the Gastelum and Adesanya.
Back in April, right? The co-main event.
With boxing, you have Lipin and some Peterson. You have J-Rock and Jared Hurd.
Theory versus the.
You have that could be one of them too. You have Spence Porter, Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua. And this one, Triple G and Derevyanchenko, like boxing is just giving you just high levels.
And it's just like you said, like this is the reason why. Except, I mean, we don't know, but possibly the reason why he wanted to avoid him fight last year.
Yeah.
It was a war, and then I know one of the. But
I think I had Triple G winning.
Yeah,
I had him winning the last two rounds.
It was definitely close. I know towards the middle, Derevyanchenko had a couple rounds in the middle.
Yeah.
I know
he fought his ass off, man.
It wasn't Maddox, but I think it was Chris Maddox. He said he had Derevyanchenko at least winning some of the fight.
Never mind. Yeah.
I know Morales really liked Derevyanchenko. He kept talking about him. But I mean, you know, like you mentioned right at the point, like you could see why he wanted to avoid his fight.
Yeah.
But he took the fight because obviously if he wants the rematch, because they asked him, "You want the rematch?" Yeah, of course I want the rematch for
yeah, I think that's just to put a belt on him too.
Yeah, for the IBF, and then but like I said, IBF was in play, so we'll see when they'll make him, you know, defend again.
Yeah, they'll give him a mandatory. We'll just see what happens. I'm sure they'll make an exception if Canelo wants to fight him, but we'll see what happens.
That's obviously.
I mean, and obviously Derevyanchenko went on his promoter. Everyone was just pissed because they felt like he was robbed, and I think he's okay though because like he's with PBC, so he can easily fight the Charlo there.
But they were also
be a world champion.
But they're good losses. It's not like he got dominated. It's not like he got knocked out.
Really heavy, against the top of the crop.
Because he fought Jacobs last October. And then he said,
I'd love to see him fight Charlo. I guarantee they're gonna make the Charlo fight next.
Okay. And then he said he fought. He said he fought someone back in April or May, right?
Yeah, on PBC.
Yeah. So.
Jack
So like you said, he's had quality losses. They're not like, you know, losing to like Joe Schmo or getting dominated. That's the important part too. But then at the end, you saw Bubo Andrade there. Obviously, I guess in the post-fight interview.
Yeah, but I think he's fighting his mandatory next.
Okay.
But yeah, that'd be a good unification.
I like that, especially if Canelo's gonna be in La La Land right now.
Yeah, and I think that Dimitri was definitely give Triple G some problems because of how awkward he is. He's a very awkward fighter.
Mm-hmm. Has Bubo fought since June?
I don't think so.
No, right? Yeah, no. They would have mentioned that by now. I'm trying to think what else, but yeah, congrats to Canelo. Congrats to Triple G. They ask the question always, who do you want next? Obviously, he wants Triple G. He wants Canelo. So, but like I said, Canelo right now is exploring other weight classes. So we'll see what happens. No
idea what happens, but it was a great fight. Just some incredible boxing. Slicer Shields was supposed to fight this weekend, but the fight fell off last minute
by unfortunate events.
So we'll see what happens.
We all speedy recovery to her head coach. We understand some kind of delicate surgery, so I'm not sure that's something fun, but our thoughts and prayers are with her team, and hopefully a speedy recovery, and we'll see her fighting soon, sometime later this year or next year.
Yeah. But
that was boxing, probably the biggest fight over the weekend. The other big fight was on the other side of the world, about 12 hours different time difference for UFC 243. at Melbourne, Australia, at Marvel Stadium. The new stadium too, I think, right?
Where the middleweight unification bout
at 185.
Of the UFC.
Between two native people, between Israel, who's from Nigeria, but he hails from New Zealand, and obviously Robert Whittaker is from Australia, so they're both from the same region. This match has been called for a few months now. We saw the champion obviously versus the interim, and we saw it was already a star, but we saw a solidified star win the belt and knock out a tough opponent. It was very hard to knock out. He goes the distance, he wrestles, but Israel Alexander knocked out Robert Whittaker.
It was clearly his night.
And you saw at the end of the first round. Remember at the end of the first round?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could end it in the first round.
They could have, yeah, if the ref didn't get on the way, or if Israel would have follow up with that blow. Yeah, I mean, I think the UFC knew he was the next star, the next champion, and he solidifies the next champ. He's in his prime. He's 30 years old, so it's not like he's like a 25, 24, like a Holloway.
Whittaker too. He's 28.
So they're both just about enter their prime.
Yeah.
I really was surprised. I thought we'd have gone a distance.
Yeah.
I would have thought Whittaker's toughness, his wrestling, the ability to take shots, he will go the distance, go in, but Israel's like you said.
It says a lot about the class of Gastelum and how that fight went.
That fight, yeah. I mean, Gastelum, that's another factor. Gastelum obviously fought back in April for the interim title belt against Israel. So who knows? Who knows what happens now? But congrats to Israel. I think everyone knew he was the next star. And this just proves. I read an article earlier this year about how a lot of the stars now are from overseas. They're not just homeborn now. It wasn't like, well, it's like any sport. The trend always change.
Yeah.
So, but now we're like at an all time where champs are coming, stars at least are coming from other countries, from Ireland, from China, from Australia, New Zealand area.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very diverse.
Yeah, very diverse.
Champion.
I like Israel. I remember the first time I saw him. Remember the first time you saw Israel?
Who?
Israel, first time fight.
Maybe.
He was in the Poirier Gaethje card.
Okay.
When he fought that Italian guy.
I think I heard of him before that.
That's the first time I heard him.
I heard of him in February 2018.
Yeah.
He had a really big win.
He had a big win because they were also back in Australia. That's when Luke Rockhold's
He had a really big win there, and then from there he just
kind of went up the ladder. Took off in a year and a half.
18 months later.
18 months, which is yeah. Obviously he beat big names. He beat the Spider back in February. Then he fought again against Kevin Gastelum. So he's fought top guys.
He beat Whittaker.
Yeah. So I mean, he's 30 years old.
Say he's not the champ.
Yeah.
Now he fights Borancha. That's Paulo Costa. That is clearly the fight to make.
That is, and then maybe we might see Gastelum versus Whittaker, maybe depending, because Whittaker obviously.
We can see Whittaker Romero 3.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
But obviously Whittaker also has his history of injuries too, so we'll see what's next. A lot of people felt Romero got robbed by Costello. That's
I felt that way.
That's fair enough too.
I definitely thought.
But we have like about 3 or 4 players right now in the top of the middleweight division. To say like in any division, the Alpha Dogs, the Sharks, whatever you want to call them. The other match we gotta talk about was the co-main event, and I didn't even know he was on the co. I didn't know he was coming. Yeah, it was Raging Out.
Yeah.
Long Island's number one real estate agent.
Yeah. That was crazy, man. I didn't expect that, but he got beat up every round.
Yeah, he got dominated. We saw he got dropped a couple times. Like you said, probably Dan Hooker's biggest match up until now. Obviously, when it's
easily now he's entitled. Now he's basically like up there.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And then obviously you saw he called Dustin Poirier, and then you showed me the tweet that Dustin Poirier says, "Oh, I already have a match being worked on or booked sometime early next year." I'm assuming. Obviously, could be Conor. We don't know. Yeah. But congrats to Dan Hooker. I remember Dan Hooker fought Barboza a couple years ago, and Barboza destroyed Dan Hooker.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy kicks. Like he was just throwing kicks a whole day.
Yeah. It
was like two Decembers ago or last, I forget, where Barboza was just chopping off at him. But congrats, Reggie has a little bit of a slump now. Lost to Cerrone back in April, I believe, in Canada.
Yeah.
And then good match though. And then obviously lost to Dan Hooker. But it's that New York toughness, I mean, it's hard to bring down Reggie now. He fights, he'll go down, Reggie now has that New York spirit. Literally, it sounds like stereotypical, but he'll keep fighting. And then you call it out too. He said his coach after the second round, Matt Sierra, and the other guy, Ray Longano, said, "What did he say?"
I don't know. He's like, "You gotta get it together."
Yeah, get it together. And I mean, sometimes it's not a fighter's night. It is what it is, But congrats, Darren Hooker. It's a long shot if he gets Dustin Poirier, but we'll see who he fights next. I don't know. What do you see raging out right now? 2-fight losing streak.
I don't know. Somewhere. I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, I'll probably go back to some houses right now. See what else. I think that was it. I know that Danny Bum's a little bit under the weather, so we'll keep it short. Anything else you want to touch about?
I think that's it.
Besides WWE winning the war this week?
I guess. We'll see what happens this week.
Oh, yeah.
I also felt like WWE, their success on Friday was based on guest appearances.
Oh, yeah. No doubt they can afford that.
Right.
That's another thing.
Which is, it's great, but then it just goes back to show you how they're more on the entertainment aspect.
Of course.
But still, I'm not going to get that. Not going to break it down like that. Still got to give it something to put on a hell of a show.
Yeah, and I spoke to our friend Ronald, who works at WWE with production side. It was their first episode. It's gonna take a few weeks before something big happens or like their big moment. Oh wow, this is where they can actually compete with WWE. Because right now they're at number 2, so you can't say they. I've always said about AEW, the only way to compete with WWE is not directly. You can't directly compete with them. You can't. No way. No. It's indirectly. By having those moments, I get to you on Twitter or retweets or whatever it is, The Rock retweeting or Bleacher Report, whatever you'll call it, that's what will get them on the map. And that's how they got on the map originally. But yeah, like you said, it's the first episode. You learn from all your hiccups. Yeah. They'll get it soon. NXT, obviously, they're up and coming too.
Yeah, Finn Balor's back. Tommaso Ciampa.
That was the biggest surprise.
Finn Balor went back. I guess they need stars down there.
Well, so
he's arguably one of the best NXT champions of all time.
Oh yeah, he is.
The first 2-time.
So from what I read, because WWE is at all-time high with rosters,
right.
So when people are off the main storylines on Raw and SmackDown, that's when they're able to bring down superstars. So like, say Kevin Owens doesn't have a storyline on SmackDown, right? They can bring him to NXT for a few months. So it's kind of to keep them in play, but on different platforms. Like Cesaro mentioned once, he's like, you know what? I wouldn't mind going to NXT UK for a few weeks, if I have nothing, because he's obviously from that area. Or Drew McIntyre too. He said, I wouldn't mind being.
Yeah, he's gone down.
Yeah, so I like these because it gives them options. Like if you're not on a storyline on SmackDown or Raw, okay, maybe we can put you somehow on NXT or UK or whatever it is, because it gives you options. Cause I'm sure Finn Balor will go up eventually after his storyline is done with Adam Cole or whatever the case is. Because Kevin Owens was rumored to go down to NXT too. So like I said, it gives WB a lot of options.
Yeah, and because like you said, they have just so much talent.
And then obviously you have 3 hours or 2 hours, whether you're on SmackDown or Raw. There's only so much you can put on 2 hours.
Exactly.
So it gives them options, and it's cool. You can be the number one guy. You can be the number one guy in NXT for a few months. Ride the wave.
Yeah.
And like I said, and they're treating NXT now as a third brand, to a certain extent. It's no more like, okay, they're the minor leagues, they're on the network. But yeah, I mean, I think AEW and NXT was smart by starting 2 weeks before going live before AEW, just kind of get the advantage on that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it was different.
But that was the best. I do want to end with this real fast. Last night, Goldberg, Matt Riddle. The video
because of the Chronicle that they aired.
I'm not your bro.
They finally got that was really good.
And then what the Matt Riddle said.
Matt Riddle was for all the shit that he was talking, he was pretty shook.
He looked scared. You can tell.
He's pretty shook. He was just I think not that. I think he wasn't prepared to run into him.
No, that's absolutely correct.
He's like, I hear you.
Yeah, it's like I hear you. And that was
really good. Because that's not even scripted. That's probably real.
And that was probably the best way to end Hell in a Cell, because that was after Hell in a Cell. What we saw after Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, that was terrible.
It really was. And then they got the Crown Jewel show on Halloween, so we're not gonna cover that. Mm-hmm. And we have like 6 weeks of Survivor Series anyway, so. Yeah. So I hear you. So, because all the shit talking Matt Riddle did on his Instagram.
Yeah.
And he tagged him too. After that Crown Jewel match, that was really bad. And he goes, "Wow, Matt Riddle. I want to see." Because Matt Riddle, so to end on this, Matt Riddle also wants to retire Brock Lesnar. He said that a couple times. I want to see Brock Lesnar and Matt Riddle. I want to see Brock and Matt Riddle's face. I want to see how scared he gets when he sees Brock Lesnar.
He's never talked crap about him.
No, well, you're right. He hasn't, but he doesn't want to retire him. But yeah, hey, wish him the best. Maybe we might get a Matt Riddle versus Goldberg match. I don't know. Just saying. Pipe dream, perhaps. But we'll end with that. Denny Bums, anything else you want to add?
I think that's it. I don't think just the Michelle Waterson fights this weekend.
Yes, the 13th against Rose Dugg, who's been on a skid since she lost the title. She fights Saturday, October 13th, October 12th, the weekend of my birthday, 30-30. Woohoo! Any other big fights this weekend coming up?
So we'll see.
We'll see. We said 2 weeks ago. It's the zone fight season, obviously, big fight season, a new wave for pro wrestling in general.
It's gonna be a good last quarter of everything. See how it all turns out.
It definitely is, because there's more time to watch more stuff. But yeah, guys, we'll be back in 2 weeks with episode 33. Thank you for tuning in and subscribing. Guys. We're climbing up the ladders. We're at 118 now. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, guys. All right, take care.